Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I have an update from RAMEN Toys, their 80s Commanders, and we've got actual prototypes. We have pictures of 3 prototypes. We also have more information coming up on these guys, and also rumors only, of possible upcoming projects after the 80s Commanders. We're going to get into all this coming up. So first off, I want to talk about the Air Force Commander, which has a striking resemblance to the Ace McCloud figure. And there's a couple of few things. Now, this is one of the talking points. The weapons are actually smaller in scale than the original. So the G1 or the original vintage toy, the weapons were just huge. If you look at the animation of Centurions, the weapons were way smaller than the toy representations. So that's something that they wanted to do here with their Commander series, is kind of make them in scale better with the weapons. So you're going to see that with each one of these, and I'll point that out with each one of these. But first of all, looking at the actual prototype, it looks really good. The articulation looks really good, and the weapons and geared up looks great. You notice that there's a waist swivel, so it can move around in the waist, which the original ones could not do that. And of course, double hinged knees, double hinged elbows, some ankle articulation, head articulation, and shoulder, which I believe gives you a wide range of movement in that shoulder joint. So that was one of the things that they were working on at first. As you can see, the legs move out really well. So you got a wider stance, obviously. So great articulation in this. Here's a side profile. And the thing about this one here is this is the actual prototype versus their render, and it looks great. I love the way this looks. And it's got on a stand, so you kind of see the poses that you can get with it. And then, of course, this is just first prototypes. This isn't even the final prototype just yet, and I think it looks great. And everything plugs in well. It appears to be holding in well. The plugs are different. They're vastly different design than what they did with the vintage line, and this still looks great. Also notice the weathering look that they have with the prototype is something we'll talk about here in a bit, but there will be weathering, and there may be an option of a weathering or a clean. Here's another look of the front of the Air Force Commander with his helmet on, so you don't really see the head sculpt. You really can't make out the head sculpt very well with these prototypes because they just look like they're made out of a bar of soap because of the material used for the prototype. But anyway, this just is how it looks with the helmet. It is a separate piece. Your helmet will go on as a separate piece. So you have the head. It's not swapping heads. You're putting the helmet on. So I like that. That's the way I feel it should be. Because you could have him holding his helmet and you could have the helmet set aside. There's a lot of different ways to display it, and I like that. Next up, we have the Naval Commander, which would be Max Ray. And the thing about this is you can really see the size change in the weapons, especially for his chest gun there. So much smaller and actually looks so much better. It is more on par with what you'd expect, and it's not as intrusive or whatever that the original vintage one was. And again, the vintage ones are great, but this I think is what we need, and it goes in the right direction. Again, you can see the articulation in this figure. You can see how it's going to look once it's done based on the render and the paint there. So once it's all painted up and looking good, you can see kind of how it's going to look, and I think this does look great. And then of course all of the detail with the whole turbines on the lower part there, this looks really good. And here's the back look at him, and I'm going to keep the vintage one up just so you can kind of get an idea still and see how it looks. But from the back, I think it looks great, and obviously you can still plug stuff into the backpack as you did before. So there's a lot of different options for storage and plugs and holes here and there, and I think this is great. Now, again, it's really hard to see all of the detail, and I don't have a picture of Max's face or his head sculpt. I don't know why I didn't get that one. Maybe I missed it somewhere, but I wanted to see the mustache come to life in that one, but I didn't see that. Anyway, it's a pretty cool look from the back and all the different angles. And here we are with the Armor Commander, and this is, of course, Jake. And again, it looks great. Again, I believe they're making all the exact same body. And as with the vintage line, they had different bodies. This is going to have all the same bodies. And of course, the helmets are all stylized. They're not going to look as much like the original vintage because they have to be stylized. That's just all the way, the only way around it. They have to be stylized, and things have to be different. But looking at that big giant cannon, it's about the same size. It might even be bigger than the original one, scaled to the figure. So that's something out of all the weapons that seems like they increased. Also, you've got 2 shoulder-mounted weapons, where originally you only got the one. So really kind of cool that they're including all of this fun stuff and all these parts and pieces. But again, this looks great. It's shaping up, and I'm getting really excited about it. Now, this picture here with Jake obviously shows some stuff, that the information that's dropping that really makes this update a lot of meat to this update, versus just, of course, getting to see the prototypes is great, but it's a 6-inch scale. And they did announce a little while back that it's 6-inch scale, a few weeks ago, whatever. But there's a lot of reasons why it's the 6-inch scale, so we're going to talk about this first. It's right next to a classified figure, and it's going to scale well. It's kind of the trend, I guess you could say, to do 1/12 and 6-inch scale. It matches a lot of your other toy lines, a lot of your figure lines, and cost. They've always wanted to stay under 100. Really, they would like to charge under 80, but it's 2021, and that might not be realistic. So under 100 is still the target for these figures. And I think under 100 is great. It's going to be outstanding for under $100, because getting a complete vintage one that's been played with is actually hard to get for under $100. So getting one of these for under 100, and you do a whole lot more with them, so that is great. The other thing about this is they have to pick one scale. And once you make the tooling, you spend the 30 grand on tooling or however much it's going to cost, there's no going back. And this decision has to be made. I know the community is more or less divided on this, but I think once we get these in hand, we're going to be perfectly happy with it. Even those, I actually wanted to see them in the bigger scale myself, but once we get them in hand, we're going to realize that it's great to have them this scale, and then you can have a bit more of them and more of the suits and stuff without taking up quite as much space. But I'm okay with it. I would have preferred the bigger myself, but I'm okay with it, and I understand, and they let me know all of the reasons why, and I perfectly understand why, and I think truthfully they made the right decision long term. So in the image pack that they sent me, I actually have quite a few of these renders, so I'm just going to cycle through some of the renders that they gave me, some of these pictures of it, and they look amazing. So one of the talking points, we're going to go through all these talking points real quick. There are some parts and pieces of the prototypes, like the hands, all the extra hands that will come with it, that will eventually come with the actual release figure, and that will be with it. So there's more to it than what they're actually showing in the prototypes, but they wanted to get something out to us so we can see what's going on. And then they're going to refine the prototype, have a final prototype, and hopefully a sale price within a month. So by the end of April, they're expecting to have a price, have a final prototype, and then start working on gearing up with everything that has to go into production to hopefully have it out by the end of the year. They're actually going to be a little bit ahead of their previous schedule, which is outstanding. I misunderstood, thinking they'd be out in May. They wanted to be ready with a price and start working towards production in May. So I was a bit wrong on that one. I got that one wrong, but still exciting, and I hope to see these by the end of the year, and I'm pretty sure we will. And also, they do want to put these figures out as quick as they can and show us the quality. Now, talking about the weathering deco, there is a lot of concern about whether to go clean or weathered, and they're debating right now whether or not they should go with weathered or clean, or offer both or both options. But no matter what, they will do their weathering themselves. They will not let that happen in the factory. Big part of the problem is they do see the mainline Hasbro, the Siege weathering, which was done poorly, and they don't want that. And everything that they do is to have a quality, high-end collectible product at the end of this. They're looking to have a very good product, and this is just the beginning of a whole lot of great things that's going to come from Ramen Toys. And I'm personally going to be in on at least one of each, if not 2 of each. And if they do a clean and a weathered, I will probably, I won't be able to control myself. I'll have to get 1 of each. 1 clean, 1 weathered. It's just the way it's going to be. And this is really cool. I'm really excited. The future of this. But what would be past this? Once they get these out and we love these, what are they going to do next? They're not going to sit on their hands. They've got some stuff going on. Now this is rumor. These were mixed in my my picture pack, and it is Silverhawks. Now they don't have a name for it, and really very little information about it. And this is of course rumor because they have not confirmed they're actually doing anything. They just have designs for a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of franchises that they love. They have some designs for it. And I'm assured that if they do put out any sort of Silverhawks, it will have the electroplating, the vac metallized electroplating, whatever process that they're going to use, it will have a shiny mirror looking finish, and Silverhawks have to have that finish. That's just all there is to it. Again, these are enthusiasts. Whether or not they ever get around to making this, it's something they did for fun, for themselves, and enjoyment. And I love that kind of stuff. And whether they make it or not, it's that level of passion that goes into this toy line, into all of this. And whether they make it, they did outstanding renders already. I know of a rumored accessory for Batman that they are interested in making. Of course, I don't think they're going to touch the Batman franchise. But I do see they are interested in making an accessory for Batman, which would be awesome if they could make it. It's huge. But again, I don't think they're touching the Batman franchise at all, but they're huge fans of it, and it really spoke to me. The Michael Keaton Batman of all of them, of course. So I, for one, am really excited about these 80s Commanders, which is their take on modern Centurions. You know, if the big companies aren't going to do it and get it out for us, I love the fact we're going to get this option. No, they're not going to be exactly like the original vintage. There are reasons for that. It will be inspired by, look great, and name something completely different. The packaging, I don't know what the packaging will look like. That'll be interesting, possibly in our next update. But I look forward to these. I'm on board with these. I want to know what you think. Are you on board with these? Are you excited about these? Are you going to be excited at the 6-inch? Are you a little disappointed that it's not 7.5-inch or whatever the old ones were? And what do you think of this prototype? What do you think of these renders? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Tydarium Hanger out.